I'm CJ Golden.
And I am Wendy Green, and welcome to the Caregivers Bakery. This is your time to sit back and relax, put your feet up, and enjoy this session with us and have some yummy food at the end.
Oh, yeah, very, extremely. Hey, Wendy, a while ago, and you who were viewing the show, we talked about what we learned that week. And I decided to revisit that this week because of something that occurred. A friend of mine, a young gal, who is having caregiving problems to the person to whom she's caring. It's overwhelming. Right. I don't know what to do first, and I have so much to do, and I have so much to do in the house, and I have my kids, and there was no way that I was going to say, and she was looking for help when she was talking to me, and there was no way I was going to say, well, here's what you do first, and then that's what you do, and that's what you. I decided that what I would do is tell her, I'm a writer, sit down with a piece of paper and a pen and list the things that have to be done, and then categorize them, and then place them in order of importance.
Mm-hmm.
This is imperative. If she was working with somebody with a feeding tube, that's imperative.
Mm.
Picking up a piece of paper that he dropped is not. Getting your kids off the school bus, that's imperative. Getting your husband in a position where he is safe when you go out to do that carries the same weight. She did that, and I got a message from her the next morning that she sat all in the evening and she categorized and prioritized her duties, and it was very helpful. The lesson that I learned therefore, and it reminded me therefore, is that you don't tell someone what to do.
Wow.
You lead that
advice.
person, but you lead that person to a point where they will figure it out for themselves.
So much more powerful. Great
job. It
job.
really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say that, when I have felt overwhelmed, sometimes it's nice to just vent, to call up a friend and say, oh my gosh, I'm losing my mind. I just need to vent. And like you said, they don't need to fix it. They just need to say, yeah, I get it. I get that you're feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah. That's the help that they need. And that's how we can help, by being there.
Yeah.
So I will post this question on our Facebook page, folks, and I would really like you, would love you to chime in. What did you learn this week? We are a community working together, helping each other. We are more than Wendy and CJ and a guest once a week, or the sweet spot once a month. We are together to help each other, to suggest each other to each other, to hold each other up. That's what the Facebook page is for, as well as telling you about the shows that are coming up. Wendy, would you take a minute to tell the listeners how they can get the sweet spot information?
Yeah, and the resume, sure. Yeah, and I want to say hi to Kathy and Doris, and thank Kathy for her comment that, she tells her friends, the phone is by my bed. You can call me anytime.
Sweet.
Yeah. So, let me tell you, first of all, as CJ said, we are really working hard to build this community for you, right? I mean, CJ and I love doing this, don't get me wrong, but this is for all of us. And all of us that need that little extra support, or not necessarily even need it, just want it. It's so important for our mental health. And so we are asking you to do a couple of things. One is to go ahead and email either CJ at authorcjgolden@gmail.com, or you can email me at wendy@heyboomer.biz, and get on our mailing list so that you will get the recipe ahead of time and you will get to enjoy the delicious food at the end of the show. The other thing is, when you get that email, forward it to a friend. Let more people know about the Caregivers Bakery so that we can develop this community and have on the kinds of guests that you really want. And so the other thing is the sweet spot. So the sweet spot is where once a month we're going to meet with one of our guests who have that will give us all an opportunity to come together, to share our experiences, and to learn from that guest about their experiences and how they're addressing it. And so again, it's community, and boy, do we need community during this time of the pandemic.
Yeah, and Wendy, may I add that the sweet spot, unlike the Caregivers Bakery, is not recorded.
Right.
So when you come on and join us at the sweet spot, the third Wednesday of every month, when you come join us, we can communicate verbally. We can ask each other questions. We can ask the guest questions. We can converse and know that it is a safe spot for all of us to grow and learn together.
Right. And it's a Zoom call, so you have to register for it so that we can let you in. So you'll find that on the Facebook page.
Yeah.
Okay, and tag your friends, in the comments. Certainly comment. We love your comments, but tag your friends. You can do an ampersand in front of a name, ampersand CJ Golden, and it will notify her that, oh, this was a show I thought you would like, go ahead and watch it. So please go ahead and do that. Do you want to bring Janice on?
I would love to bring Janice on. She's been waiting so patiently in the background. Look at her. I can see her now. Everybody can see her. Everybody, this is Janice Ferraro. This is what a dynamite woman. And I'm saying that in front of her, and I would say it without her knowing also. She runs her own personal training business, a very successful business. She is wonderful. Whatever shape I'm in, it's because of Janice. I got to tell you that. Her husband, Mike, and she decided when her parents became ill that Mike and Janice would build a new home that had an in-law set up so she could move her parents into their house and be there more consistently to be caregiver. Now, this is interesting because Mike and Janice also had 2 little girls, wonderful kids, intelligent kids, caring kids. And somehow, Janice made it work, running the business, taking care of the kids, taking care of Mike for whatever he needed or getting him to help, and being there for her parents. Janice, I would like you to tell everyone, because we know how difficult it is to be in that, what we call the sandwich generation. And you were truly in it up to your eyeballs. Let us know how you did it.
Okay. Well, for starters, thanks for having me on the show. You sound like you guys have an amazing program that you're beginning to develop, and I'm so glad to be part of it. So yeah, our journey was an interesting one. I could never have imagined where we started and how it progressed over time. But my dad had been sick with cancer for many, many years, and they were, in their original home for 40 years, and trying to figure out that next step. And it was a big step to decide to move an hour away from everything they knew and come to some family. My sister lived close by as well, so they were going to have two of their children close by. And Dad was with cancer at that point for 13 years by the time we actually built the home and they moved in. It was a very exciting time for my parents on one way because they got to develop their own space and pick colors and, be truly part of this new endeavor with us. And it was terrific. At that point, my dad's cancer had progressed into his bones and things became really challenging. My kids were 4 and 7 at the time. As Karen mentioned, I was teaching classes. I was doing personal training. My husband was working full time. My mom was really sharp at that point in time. So she was there to be with my dad, but we were really a huge family now compared to the family of 4. A family of 6 was such a big deal. And we really enjoyed having all that time with them because day in and day out, we would, have dinners with them or lunches with them. And, my young Brooke at the time, she couldn't have been closer with my dad. It was just incredible. She was so excited when they moved in because one of the stories that we talk about all the time, because she said, Grandpa, we share the same wall. It was just so cool. And my father took it to another level, having been in the Army and participating in knowing how to do Morse code. He taught Brooke how to do Morse code through the wall. They had these special moments that, I look back on these and these are memories that are just incredible. Yeah. She would come home from school at the end of the day, kindergarten, blow right past Mom, run into the other, like, hey, how was your day? He was like, I'll be right back. And she'd run in to see Grandpa, and who was waiting and figuring out how to muster up energy. He was in a lot of pain back in those days. And he would muster up the energy to be on his game, to listen to her stories. And she'd go through the whole day with him. And they'd be just so excited to share in that. And then eventually she'd catch me up. But and at the time, it was very interesting because my mother was pretty healthy. And she'd always want to participate with Brooke as well. But Brooke gave my dad 95% of the attention. And she knew, it's like subconsciously she knew that he needed that, Yeah. And another story I tell is that, he would, wait for her and they'd play together every day. But towards the end, when we didn't even really realize that my dad was starting to really, truly fail because he was struggling for that last year. It was a tough year. The last 2 weeks of his life, all of a sudden, Brooke, I don't know how she figured it out, but she started giving my mom more attention. My dad would be in pain all day long and try and figure out how to put a smile on for her, but it was starting to become harder, Yeah. And she all of a sudden started giving my mom more attention. And I remember the same question came out of my dad's mouth. Hey, what about me? She's like, right there, Grandpa, And, 2 weeks later, my dad passed. And we didn't realize it until after the fact. Like, it was like she sort of had this intuition that she was going to have to start giving more attention to Grandma because Grandma was going to need it. Because my parents had the most incredible marriage. The love that they shared was unbelievable. I mean, I'd come home or for finishing with a client or come home from an errand or what have you. And, early on when things weren't as bad, the door would be closed. They'd have their privacy. And I'd be next door. I'd hear them. They never stop talking. I'm like, they've been married for 49 years. What on earth are they talking about? And it's like all day long, all day long. So my sister and brother and I had, a really terrific role model with love. And I think that the love that they shared made such a difference in my family. Mm-hmm. My dad, when he was, he was able to do a little bit more when we were first getting the house set up. He made these fancy curtains for my daughter with the sheets that she had, and he had a little piece of extra fabric. And he made this pillow for her. At the time, I forget whatever little stuffed animal that she had. So the pillow was like, yay big. And it was with this special, material, and it was Grandpa's pillow. Mm-hmm. And so the Morse code that he did for her, he would put it on a little piece of paper, and she had all these special things, and she was keeping them in this pillow. this pillow after my dad passed was something really special to her, really special. And one day I kind of blew it, and I noticed the pillow was getting kind of, not so great. It needed to get through a washing machine somehow or another, and it really wasn't set up to do that. So I put the pillow through the wash, and I didn't know that she had special things in there. And so boy, was I in trouble. But we still have the pillow to this day. It's in the bedroom that she visits us here. And it's just such a fond memory for her, all their, special moments together. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So dad died 2 years,
Well, let me just
Go ahead.
say something, Janice, because we're getting some really nice comments here about such a touching story and beautiful treasures, and it's true. I mean, your family story touched us when we first talked, and and now I know you were going into what happened with your mom. So if you can fill us in on that part as well, but I didn't want you to miss those beautiful comments.
Oh, no. Oh, thank you. That was sweet. Well, I will also like to say that, with the home that we had and the proximity to my sister got to spend a lot of time, and she was there as well to help out. When we progressed into my mom, my brother being, a little over an hour away, he also was able to step up to the level that he was able to, which, is not going to be the day in and day out. Of course, that lied on our shoulders, and we took that, responsibility on. But I feel like having the support of my family made all the decisions that we made easier. Mm-hmm. So if you fast forward, my dad passed. It was really pretty amazing, the change in my mom, and you hear those stories like, my mom died, and then quickly thereafter my dad died kind of stories. And it really happened with my parents. Mom and dad were just such a strong force. Even though mom had grandchildren in the house, she had me in her life all day long. My amazing husband, supportive, my sister around, people visiting. She didn't have dad anymore. She didn't have the love of her life. So pretty quickly, she had some health issues, and we'll just move forward to, she was diagnosed with Parkinson's. And she had an exploratory surgery that started the whole thing and led into anxiety that led to the Parkinson's diagnosis. But mom never was the same. Absolutely never. She was never that person that wanted to be a lot of work, and she became a lot of work. And so over time, and we were blessed. My folks were smart enough to have money saved, because as much as we could do with our business, I'm working, my husband's working, we are in the lives, helping out every day. We got to a stage with mom that she needed extra help in the house. And, we had phenomenal aides participate in her care, to the level where we eventually had some really key people that were really part of our family. We embraced them. We love them to this day. One of them is coming down to visit me soon, as she's coming down to South Carolina. But we had dinner with them every night. And, my mom had a slow progression of Parkinson's that led to dementia. And it was really tough. This was no longer mom. This was a really troubled person that, the mind was no longer the same. It was very, very sad.
Now,
very sad.
Janice, the girls were still young.
Right.
Now I'm figuring 7 and 10 or somewhere around there. And how did you explain to them? How did you work with them? How did you talk to them to understand and accept who grandma is now?
It's interesting that you say that, because really early on, it was kind of like a gift, right? I have babysitters in the house. This is terrific. And so, for the first couple of years, Mike and I had a little more flexibility. We didn't have to hire babysitters. We had grandma and grandpa. And even though, there was dad to worry about, it worked out. And then initially, after my dad passed, my mom was able to help out. And then we started to have some issues with her, mentally. It was really my kids watching mom sometimes and making sure she was okay. And, they saw the change. We had so many challenging times, where there was anxiety, there was pain, there was fear. So I think we felt like our kids were seeing maybe more than you wanted them to, but really maybe not. They saw that life is precious. Life can change. It changed so quickly for us. They realized that we all gave to our family more than ever before, because now we had family in the house that needed help. I don't think they thought twice about it, but we missed events. There were times we couldn't do things. We had to figure out how to bring grandma with us, or how to call four lines down in caregivers to get someone to stay with her in order for us to do something. So they began to realize that there were definite challenges. I talk about this one time towards the last year of my mom's life. At this stage, she was really, really struggling. And the stress that she had, the anxiety she had, it was really tough. And my daughter Danielle was with me when we were trying to get her relaxed. And it probably took a good 2 hours to finally get her to sleep. And she was crying. It was a very emotional time. She was beginning to talk about her own death, my mom, and how she wanted to look in the coffin. This was a thing for her. This was truly a thing for her, which we kid about, but it's amazing. And she finally goes to sleep, and Danielle, who always kept her emotions inside, she pulled me aside and she said, "Mom, promise me you'll never get like this." And I looked at her and I couldn't hold it back. And I said, "I can't promise you that, Danielle. I can promise you that I don't necessarily want you to take care of me the way I have, Grandma." And then my daughter just lost it. She lost it. She had been holding in these emotions for so long. Brooke, she'd wear her emotions on her sleeve. She'd cry with my mother. She'd hug my mother. She'd love my mother. And Danielle would do the same, but she wouldn't get emotional. And they were dealing with a lot. They were really dealing with a lot, because all the time there's people coming in and out of our houses, in our house. And, they were involved in our privacy of dinner. And it was just a different life, but I wouldn't do it any differently, because those experiences of knowing my parents through the good and the bad, I think have made my kids appreciate family more than ever.
Yeah. That there, the moral of the story, rather than complaining about the difficulties, you and Mike showed Danielle and Brooke the beauty that can come out of the situation. And therefore, I'm seeing your smile. And therefore, it showed you an appreciation for the situation and the beauty of the situation. And you couldn't have told us a more gorgeous story.
Yeah, thank you. That was, and the family that you have is, it's a true gift.
We are very, very, very lucky.
Well, it doesn't just happen. It doesn't just happen. But here's something that doesn't just happen.
What is that?
Scones.
Let's talk about the recipe.
The recipe part, folks, of the Caregivers Bakery is to give the caregiver a purpose. Go into the kitchen, make the batter, make the soup, make grab the ingredients for the scone or the cake or whatever. Do something for 10 minutes that takes you out of your situation. And then when this is cooked, when these scones are done, sit down and eat all 8 of them at the same time. I made a triple batch. Janice, tell us about the scones, please.
Well, in my house, growing up, it was cereal during the week. And on the weekends, we had some special recipes. And scones was one of Mom's, special treats. And when you got to that age when you were like thinking twice about how early you wanted to get up, if you smelled a scone being cooked from upstairs, you ran down those stairs. So it's one of those special breakfasts that, we don't have it all the time, but when we do, we enjoy it. I highly recommend when you bake them, you eat them right away and you serve them with butter or jelly or whatever your favorite scone decadence is. But this was something that Mom made. I have the original recipe in her handwriting, and it's every time I make it or I pass it on to somebody else, it just has a special place in our heart. And just recently, my brother just went through some health issues, and he's living alone now, and he's starting to cook a little bit more on his own. And, to try and get him to take on one of these special treats that he always wants me to make.
Yeah.
We did a Zoom call, and we got some other family members to participate, and we all learned how to make Mom scones together.
Love it.
And I'm so proud that my brother now at 60 something years old learned to make something that he's always oodled over his whole life. And he doesn't have to just wait for one of his sisters to make it. So
Awesome.
It's a great recipe.
It really is.
And Doris, you say scones are your favorite. So look for the recipe on the Facebook page. Sign up for the email list so you can get it ahead of time. I'm going to taste mine.
Next week, let me tell you this quickly before we run out of time. Rabbi Richard Address is going to bring us a recipe for, it looks like a fabulous recipe for coffee cake. Rabbi is the founder and director of Jewish Sacred Aging, works with caregivers, and he will bring to us his life as a caregiver, caregiving for caregivers, and explaining the very real possibility of caregiving for the elderly and allowing them their dignity. Mm-hmm. That's a big one. Allowing dignity to the person you are caring for.
Let me show Janice's contact information.
Absolutely, please.
So if you are interested in a fabulous trainer, or if you just want to let Janice know how much you enjoyed her story today, you can email her at fit4UFFY@AOL.com. Thank you, Janice, for letting us share that with the audience.
Yeah. Are we gonna? Well,
yeah. And did you see that Gail said she's already eaten half the pan too?
Half the pan. They are yummy. Yeah, I made the first batch. My grandson was there. We scarfed them down. I made a second double batch. Please remember, email us. Send me an email. authorcjgolden@gmail.com. Send Wendy an email. Wendy@heyboomer.biz. Get the recipes in advance. But even more than that, help us continue creating a community where we can talk with each other, where we can share stories with each other. Emails can go back and forth between us, and we can commiserate. We can share our high points, and with that, you will also get the group email that will alert you to upcoming shows. Caregivers Bakery, Sweet Spot. Thank you for being the Caregivers Bakery community. Let's keep it going.
Yeah.
And
what do we always say, CJ? About caregiving.
What do we say? Well, we know that caregiving is not a piece of cake.
That is certainly
Wendy true. And I hope to help you find the sweet spot.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Janice. Beautiful, beautiful story.
Thank you, Janice.
No problem. Thanks for letting me participate.
I'm CJ.
And I'm Wendy. And this has been the Caregivers Bakery.
And we'll see you again next week.
Great.